This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. And Trump is being a little bit more positive about Puerto Rico in general. Maybe not the mayor of San Juan specifically, but saying, essentially the Puerto Rican people will always be with you. Your unmatched spirit with respect to recovering from the hurricane. The last I saw, still like 80% of the island is without power.
Yes. A lot of places do not have clean drinking water. It's a mess. And the death toll that keeps rising now, it's at 46.
Mm-hmm. The House yesterday passed a new round of disaster relief, $36.5 billion to aid Texas, Florida, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. But that wasn't good enough for some politicians, like our own El Gaito. I ask every American that has love and not hate in their hearts to stand with Puerto Rico and let this president know we will not be left to die. And that wasn't strong enough, so that mayor of San Juan, that's not political at all. I asked the United Nations, UNICEF, and the world to stand with the people of Puerto Rico and stop the genocide that will result from the lack of appropriate action of a president that just doesn't get it because he has been incapable of looking in our eyes and seeing the pride that burns fiercely in our hearts and souls. Measured? No,
well,
not exactly.
To spit in people's faces who are down, President Trump yesterday said, we cannot keep FEMA, the military, and the first responders who have been amazing under the most difficult circumstances in PR forever, exclamation point. Mm-hmm. Need to say that. Mm-hmm. They don't need that right now.
Yeah. Do you think San Juan Mayor and El Gaito are helping the cause? For more on this topic and many others, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Bret Baier, who, of course, is the host of Fox News Special Report, weekdays, 5 p.m. Chicago time, and the author of the book on the Eisenhower administration, 3 Days in January. Bret, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Good morning. First of all, congrats to all the Cubs fans out there. I am moving a little slow.
Thank you.
Got back from the game at 2 in the morning.
So what was it like to be there?
I mean, it was amazing. I think it would have been a lot less confusing if the umps just wore the Cubs uniforms, but...
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, will you stop it?
No.
Are we going to have this batter interference conversation again about bias?
So Cubs played very well, and we just made some big mistakes, but it was a lot of fun to be there. It was almost a comeback all the way to the very end.
Bret, I mean, I welcome you joining me in a call for a congressional investigation into the umpiring of that game, and essentially seeing if this is something tantamount
favoritism?
to the favoritism. I'm talking about like a Black Sox scandal here. I'm talking about umps fixing the game for the Cubs, batter interference. Who knows what dark forces could be at work here, Bret?
I don't know. It was tough. The stadium was rough. And by the time we got to the end, it was already Friday the 13th, so it was very scary.
Exactly.
And then a black cat ran across the field.
But thankfully, Ron Santo wasn't
it's better
there.
For baseball and for ratings if the Cubs go on to the division series. I mean, the NLCS.
Yeah, well,
it is.
Nationals fans aren't so concerned about what's better for ratings. Yeah.
Hey, do you think Dusty Baker is going to survive, Bret Baier?
I actually don't. I think there's going to be some big changes. We haven't been past that round in the postseason. It's just, the record of all Washington teams is really pretty heinous.
Yeah.
Well, maybe some days.
But anyway, back to the
Cubs.
Yeah.
Maybe some days.
I still think we may have look. You see what's happening in NCAA basketball. You don't think that these umpires? You don't think Javi Baez? I don't know. I'm not
He's
making
from Puerto
allegations. I'm just
Rico.
saying let's have a fact-finding commission. Let's convene a blue ribbon panel. All right, talking about matters international beyond the hurricane relief politics. A couple of moves made in the last 24 hours. One, Trump withdrawing the United States from UNESCO, which is sort of like the cultural appendage of the United Nations, basically citing its anti-Israel and some people would argue anti-Semitic disposition, and that's being well received, including by erstwhile Trump critics of the neocon variety.
Yeah, there's also the U.S. dumped a lot of money into UNESCO that a lot of people felt was being mismanaged and kind of throwing it down the drain. So that's one where, while it's in the same ballpark of international organizations, the president doesn't get as much grief for. I think, it's not like the Paris Accord or what's going to happen today, which is not the certification of Iran, and he kind of tosses the whole thing to Congress. People are kind of misreading it that we're pulling as a country out of the Iran deal. That's not technically what's happening, but it still sends the signal that this president is kind of unwinding the Obama legacy.
Well, what is Congress going to be deciding on the Iran deal?
Well, Congress has to basically decide, once they get it from the president, which he's going to deliver this speech today, whether there will be sanctions going forward. And, it's technical. It's, do you certify it? Do you pull the U.S. entirely out? Do you do nothing? I think they're probably going to be in the do nothing category. But we'll see. I think what the president is saying is that Iran's not living up to the spirit of the deal, and he wants more things included in what he calls the worst possible deal. But the bottom line is that this president doesn't want to recertify this thing every 90 days to say, yes, they're living up to the deal that I think is horrible and I campaigned against.
So this is a backdoor way to keep his promise to undo the, as you properly described, him describing it, one of the worst deals in American history.
Exactly. So I think, this is all about the president, and it's not really about the technical side of the deal. If Congress doesn't act, and they probably won't, the U.S. is still in it, but the president is saying he's not certifying it, so then they don't have to do Congress will probably set it up so you don't have to do the 90-day certification every 3 months.
Well, speaking of backdoor deals to unwind things that Congress has failed to unwind, his executive order yesterday on Obamacare with respect to small business association plans and short-term individual plans, as well as restoring the power of the purse to Congress when it comes to these subsidies for plans. This seems to me another way to, again, make an incremental step with respect to improving the health insurance market, but also really prod Congress to not just walk away from Graham Cassidy or some other salvageable replacement idea.
Yeah, exactly. The executive order is kind of around the edges. You can't really do anything major without a piece of legislation when it comes to health care. But more importantly is the DOJ determination that the subsidies are essentially not constitutional in their reading of the law and that they're going to come to an end. That is huge. It's a huge thing. So it's all going to come to a head. And the president is tweeting out, the things imploding. But, to be honest, he's helping make it implode faster. And they're going to have to deal with it, by the first of the year. So you're going to see health care back on the legislative front, probably the beginning of next session.
And I was surprised to see Senator Rand Paul up there with President Trump. Are they having a kumbaya moment?
They are on health care because, Rand Paul would like to unwind the whole thing and do a much more, conservative-based, market-based health care system. I don't think he's going to get all the way there, but he is leading the charge. The funny thing is that as he's standing there on that, tax reform, Rand Paul potentially is the person that's going to stop it.
How much do you think this unfolding Harvey Weinstein, a.k.a. the human stain, his scandal is negatively impacting the Democrat Party? It was interesting. Rather remarkable, actually, that Jeff Zeleny at CNN made the point the other day that, look, the Democrat leadership of the leadership of the Democrat Party basically beholden to Harvey Weinstein, and there's a lot in Hollywood, the Hollywood left, and there's a lot of hypocrisy afoot and a lot of silence and slow walking in terms of response to what we now know to be true, in addition to what is alleged to be true, which is even more serious of a criminal nature. How damaging is this to the Democrats?
I think it's pretty damaging as it's in the front of the news focus, and so then you get every Democrat who took money being asked, "What are you doing with it?" And then I also think that the time frame for Hillary Clinton and the Obama statement, came into question. That it took a little bit longer than it did for others to weigh in on different topics. So I do think it has hurt, but the Democratic Party overall has bigger problems than Harvey Weinstein.
Right. Well, and that goes to something Ross Douthat said earlier this week at the New York Times. The problem Democrats have is the country may be moving left, but the Democrats are moving left faster. So they're kind of outpacing
Exactly.
where their opportunity is.
Exactly, and it comes down to 2018. I mean, if they fail to pick up a lot of seats in the House, or if they fail to pick up seats in the Senate, you're going to have a party that is really going to search in its inner soul about which way it's going, and whether it's going the Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders way, or it's going to the Mark Warner, other moderate Democrats way.
He is Bret Baier, host of Special Report, Fox News Channel, 5 p.m. Chicago time on weekdays, author of the book on Ike, 3 Days in January. Bret, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.